Now, our two women that we have here tonight have such particular hair. It's grey and it's messy and it's pulled back. It's exposing and it accentuates their wrinkled faces, and it makes us question the intention of their gossipy conversations. So I know as a punter, coming along to Ron Mueck's exhibitions, the words I would always hear whispered around me. Someone would say, "You know, he uses real hair." And then the next person would say, "You know, he uses his own hair." And then someone would say, "You know, he uses horse hair." And then someone would say, "You know, he slaughtered a goat to get its hair, and who knows what the truth is?" David probably knows what the truth is, but he has had his say. And so instead, we are turning now to the wonderful Stephanie Van Schilt, who is deputy editor of The Lifted Brow, co-host of the Rereaders podcast, and the TV columnist at Kill Your Darlings. Now, Stephanie doesn't know very much about blue rinses or probably about Ron Mueck either, but she does know a lot about my favourite thing, popular culture and television, and especially about Friday Night Lights. Yes, we have a fan down the front. Yes, to talk to us about how depictions of women's hair perpetuate beauty myths in popular culture, would you please welcome the wonderful Stephanie Van Schilt.
Hi guys. I'm not sure if that intro sits with what I'm doing, but kind of. I know it kind of looks odd, me being up here and talking about hair after all of the awesome presentations tonight, but trust me when I say I feel more awkward about it than what you do. Somewhat contradictorily though, sorry, that computer's doing stuff and I'm getting confused by it. That whole notion of me being awkward up here about hair feeds into the common misconception that hair is in fact a superficial topic, when let me reassure you, it's quite the opposite. Of all the features we have as human beings, hair is inherently political. It's inscribed with a veritable plethora of cultural meanings. It's a mythological trope and highly subject to social conditioning. As well as being political, hair is exceptionally personal. The thing with taking a topic that is considered so mundane and everyday is that it's easy to dismiss personal sensitivities that may arise from it. Due to illness or cultural and religious affiliations or even self-worth, hair can be a touchy subject. I'm going to try my best to be inoffensive here, except for maybe the puns that I use. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Ignore the fine print for the moment. Oh, I have to do this way, sorry. Okay, yes, that's Friday Night Lights. Oh, Connie, check it. When I realised I was presenting here, I jumped at the opportunity to talk about Connie Britton, and more specifically, the cult of Connie Britton's hair, because, well, any excuse to look at it and talk about it and share it with y'all. But look at her. Oh. Connie Britton's follicular triumph is indeed influential, having risen to meme-like status with its own Tumblr. There you go. She's got her own Twitter. Connie Britton's hair. Getting patted over there. She has her own hashtag, and of course Connie is aware of it and totally adorable and funny about it. Oh, so sweet. The cult of Connie Britton's hair, an altar at which I clearly worship, inspires particular devotion. I defy you to find an article written on Connie Britton that doesn't make mention of her hair. In this example, writer Anna Breslaw takes awkward, creepy selfies and recalls the hypothetical things she could have said to Connie Britton when Connie Britton came into her local cafe, if she wasn't too busy taking awkward, creepy selfies and dreaming up the comments, which is something I totally understand because that is exactly what I would do. One of her comments were, "Looking at your hair is like being under a waterfall," followed closely by, "Please lend me the key to being a woman and I'll run across the road and make a few copies because I know I'll lose it over the weekend." But what you're probably maybe asking yourself, maybe, now is, what the hell does that even have to do with Ron Mueck's two women's sculpture? Firstly, I'll forgive you for not realising that Connie Britton's hair has to do with everything and anything all the time. And secondly, it has heaps to do with it. Yes, it may seem slightly more tenuous than, say, the serious talks that have come before me. But for me, it's in plain sight, relevant, powerful, and no less apparent than other discussions. The relationship between hair, female actors, and pop culture is a long entwined one. You could say that movies and TV have been putting the tresses into actress for a long time. Sorry that I did that. But so why the hubbub around Connie Britton's hair in particular? What's the pull? What gives it such talismanic properties? Well, this speaks directly to the sculptures themselves. Connie Britton, as an actor and a public figure with a crafted persona, speaks to messages generated through pop culture and the arts for women both working within the television industry and consuming content. Her three major roles to date are television performances, which are my favourite kind. Firstly, Tammy Taylor in Friday Night Lights, Vivian Harmon in the first season of anthology series American Horror Story, and most recently Britton's role as fictional country music star Raina James on the gloriously melodramatic Nashville. Each of these characters are passionate, intelligent, and emotional, yet they are flawed and strong, outspoken and driven, and they explore the idea that women are conditioned by socially limited definitions of having it all. Wives, mothers, and professionals, these women are also, importantly, in their 40s. Accordingly, Connie Britton's hair is deeply entwined with this image and these characters and serves as a symbolic tool of challenging prescriptive ideals pertaining to female age and success, both consciously and otherwise. So here I propose that the primary relationship between Mueck's sculpture and Britton's performance, and thus hair, stems from the theme of age. A New York Times profile of the actress titled "Connie Britton is a Late Bloomer" epitomizes this public fascination with Britton as a 40-something icon and heroine. After the limited success in the 90s, it was through her role as Tammy Taylor on Friday Night Lights that Britton garnered her success in 2006. At the time, Britton was entering her 40s, an age long considered the death knell for females in Hollywood, with prejudiced messages implying that once you blow out your 4-0 candles, you better plump up those aging lips with collagen or get out of town. But Tammy Taylor and Friday Night Lights made Connie Britton as such. And as stated on the blog Avidly, we love Connie Britton's hair because it was, for a glorious time, Tammy Taylor's hair. And Tammy Taylor is pretty important. There's no way Connie Britton's hair could have had the aura it does without Tammy Taylor, but it kind of seems fair to say that Tammy Taylor couldn't have done what she did without Connie Britton's hair. I'm pretty sure that Friday Night Lights, a heavily male-driven world, was conscious of this impact of Connie's hair, as well as female hair in generally, to social dynamics and how it contributes to defining femininity and gendered power structures. So this is a scene from Friday Night Lights. I don't know if you can see what they're saying to each other, but essentially, in this particular sequence, Tammy's power walking with the new rich woman in town, Katie McCoy, who's a mother of a new quarterback. They're discussing how Tammy can influence an upcoming decision that will affect her role as school principal, and the decision comes down to a man. In a show about guidance and coaching within male-saturated culture of high school football, this scene intentionally reflects on the patriarchal dominance of the world in which these women exist. Here, Tammy is coached to be strategically feminine. By suggesting Tammy let down her long womanly hair, because it would make her seem more chaste and yet sexually permissive, as well as controlled and relaxed, we somehow define femininity. But as long-term viewers know, this goes against Tammy's instinct. That should come on, buddy. While Katie underscores the need to suppress emotion because no one likes an angry woman, as she said, disgustingly, this is not in Tammy's nature. Tammy was an impassioned voice of reason in Friday Night Lights, who, as a guidance counsellor and principal at Dillon High, and as a mother of a teenager and then later seasons a newborn, and wife to Coach Taylor, she constantly offered world-weary advice and comfort with an intensely maternal inflection and didn't shy away from discipline when necessary. She just told it like it is. Later on, she kind of loses it a little bit, but that's all part and parcel of her being, I know fictional, but a human being. Likewise, Britton's character in American Horror Story, Vivian, shares certain traits and storylines with Tammy Taylor and Raina James to follow. Vivian is a mother of a teen girl who becomes pregnant late in life and isn't afraid of speaking her mind to her husband or those around her. Just to be clear, though, this marriage goes nowhere near the nuptial delights offered by Tammy and Coach in Friday Night Lights. But with the obligatory degree of gleeful camp self-awareness, this horror genre show consolidates on the legion of Connie Britton's fans, bemoaning the loss of Tammy Taylor post-Friday Night Lights cancellation and obviously the cult of her hair. Obviously, the domestic setting of a horror house, like a haunted house, is associated with the feminine, and in American Horror Story, it's used accordingly. Most prominently, though, Rosemary's Baby allusions are abound. In fact, the use of hair in Rosemary's Baby and American Horror Story is a useful and iconic point of departure to demonstrate the distinction between that film and this show. Because where Rosemary's classic 60s crop emphasised Mia Farrow's wide eyes and skinny, deer-like wayfish innocence while pregnant with the devil's spawn, Vivian is an outspoken woman with agency, or at least, a little bit more agency. Vivian's cascading red tresses, natural according to the screen grab, what are we up to? Purposefully denote her fiery independence as well as other stereotypical traits applied to those of the Auburn persuasion. So these are just some basic characteristics that are stereotypically, related with redheads, and Brave is a really good demonstration of that. So these are demonstrations of her being feisty. Yeah, I really want to bash your face in. He cheated on her, come on. And that she's right 100% of the time. And this is the other thing. The other thing that's integral to Britain's role and alluring redhead status is that while she is a mother, a long-term wife, and in her 40s, all of these characters are also far from sexless. So this is from American Horror Story. Yes, this may touch somewhat on reductive redhead labels, but Connie Britton's role evokes this tradition without spilling into Jessica Rabbit territory, although this particular gift might seem otherwise. Females pertaining to sex and beauty myths, females' hair is a rather paradoxical affair. It's been long noted in studies that long hair makes the head erotic, arguing that it's a provocative body part of such unrestrained sexuality that in some cultures it has to be kept quite literally under wraps. This speaks to the evolutionary argument that persists around a man's biological drive to seek an attractive, fertile, youthful mate, symbolised by long, wavy or kinky locks, as opposed to the tied-back or restrictive buns or frizzy mops like those seen in Mueck's representation of two older, infertile women. Contrarily, though, while men have adopted long hair in the past as a form of social protest, it has always been associated with the femininity and used as a sexual lure and status symbol. So stepping towards more of a kind of third-wave feminist stance in this regard, I'd argue that the role of Connie Britton's hair and sexuality in these portrayals embraces expressions of femininity and female sexuality that challenge as a challenge to objectification. So she's by agreeing to it and embodying it, she's then challenging it. Another challenge of the having it all pre-packaged, bite-sized, horrible thing that it is. Come on. Sorry, guys. It happens in the show Nashville, which is what she's currently on. It's a shameless primetime soap and a killer one at that. She's placed directly in competition with Juliet Barnes, who is in her 20s. There she is. And she has long stints on the road, away from her kids, custody battles, love triangles, all the obligatory stuff. But during her offstage moments, when her private and professional life faces conflict, Raina's hairstyles, and thus Connie Britton's hair, reflects how she's feeling. In a show that's all rhinestones and short skirts and cowboy boots, there's no mistaking that its use of fashion and her gloriously iconic mane is deliberate. So during this slide, this is a moment in the pilot when she is forced by her husband and father via pressure to appear to support them in a political campaign arena. It's out of character for her costuming, and it's clearly an obstruction of her personal freedom. It's really conservative and unlike her. And in this one, her hair is half tied back, showing how publicly her life is spiralling, but she's doing what she can to hold on to the best of her ability. So even in a show that so obviously doubles in the rhetoric of age and beauty by comparing her to a young blonde person, Connie Britton's character is pushed forward as a successful professional woman. And Britton, personally, as a spokesperson, pushes back when Nashville tries to emphasise the age element of the character. She's been quoted as saying that personally she would never reference herself as old because she doesn't think of herself as old, and nor should she. Long shall her hair reign. Thank you.